order to distinguish and classify the different kinds of dreams in which everyone has an experience, they may be divided into 4 variations. Nearly all dreams may be classified under this heading. 1. Physical stimulus. 2. Subconscious memory. 3. Telepathy. 4. The actual astral experience of the ego or soul in the astral region. Physical stimulus may be the direct cause of impressing certain issues on the physical brain, which may appear to be a reality. The falling of a book, picture, or any article in the room may cause the sleeper to dream of firearms. A soldier may dream of a battlefield. A sensitive female may dream it is a burglar. A person who throws the bedclothes off him on a cold night may dream of snow and ice. We must also take into consideration the physical and mental environments of the sleeper. The subconscious memory. The subconscious memory may be the direct cause of certain dreams. When the mind is centered on certain things, the sleeper goes over his life again and again in phantom fashion. He lives over the experiences of his daily life. Very often the ego enlightens the sleeper of some material thing for his own benefit, which he may use advantageously in his waking state. But as he generally looks at the phenomena of dreams as hallucination of the brain, he allows many a golden opportunity to slip through his fingers, because the materialist brain cannot grasp things of the spirit. All of the knowledge and rubbish of our past lives is stored up in the subconscious mind, where it remains in minute form. Memory is only the awakening of the subconscious mind. The dream picture of the past is apt to play a very prominent part in one's sleep. Childhood and long-forgotten scenes come up frequently and appear as real and genuine as if they had only happened the previous day. They frequently give the dreamer joy or sorrow according to the stages he passed through. Even action of past lives may come up into the subconscious. Dreams of running around nude without any feeling of shame may be the memory of a previous existence. Falling from a high cliff or trees, being chased around by some wild animals, may be attributed to a primitive past. Dreaming of primitive people, places, and things only takes the dreamer a step nearer the Stone Age from whence he came. Instead of looking at these subconscious dreams with horror and dread, as some people do, they should study them and shape their lives accordingly. Telepathic dreams, or thought transference. Telepathy is a known and established fact. The connection between minds without material means of any kind has often been demonstrated by the very simple method of one person acting as a sender, while the other acts as a receiver. The sender thinks of a certain subject selected beforehand. He may write it down on slate or paper. There is often telepathic conditions between minds who are in close sympathy with each other, such as a man and wife, mother and children, or people whose business brings them close together, may exchange thoughts during sleep. For instance, in one case a mother received the thought of her boy, who was away from home, telling of his sickness. A few days later she received a letter verifying her dream. A salesman dreams of a friend telling him of his company doing a big business in a neighboring town. Upon his friend's return, his dream was found to be correct. A lady in San Francisco, whose husband was in Australia, for 3 successive nights, dreamed of his returning to America. She did not expect him until early in the fall of the year. She was dreaming of him in the spring. On the 4th morning after her dream, she received a letter telling her about his unexpected return. These are so-called telepathic dreams, usually from minds of living people, although telepathic connection from minds of discarnate beings is possible. The actual astral experience of the ego during sleep in the astral world. The actual astral experience in which the ego sees distant sights and visions which he knows do not actually exist upon the physical plane, such as communicating with the dead, recovery of lost and stolen property, having premonitions of a certain thing which actually happens, such as approaching danger or death. Above are but a few of the actual astral experiences of the ego which it endeavors to impress on the physical brain. Sometimes it impresses them by symbols, for symbols are the true language of the soul, and to know how to interpret the meaning of the symbols of your dreams is of the utmost importance to the beginner. A symbolic dream, which is an actual astral experience, can only be interpreted by the dreamer himself, for no one lives your life but yourself. The first impression you receive intuitively of a dream you see symbolically is usually correct. The reason the layman does not interpret his dreams correctly by following his intuition is because he generally has some material idea of his own concerning dreams. Here is a dream that may be said to be an actual experience of the ego, taken from the Chicago American, July 17, 1920. Dream son drowned. Found bodies in river. Burlington, Vermont. The dream was responsible for the finding of the bodies of George Raymond Jr., 14 years, son of George Raymond, and his uncle, Winford Raymond, in the Lamoille River at Fletcher. According to Winford's father, the vision of the boy's mother appeared before him in a dream and directed him to look for the boys in the river. They had been absent from home since Sunday. The dream was so vivid that the father wakened and at 2 o'clock went to the river bank, where he found the boys' clothing. At daybreak, the bodies were recovered. The spiritually enlightened ones have a broader vision of things, especially if there is a close sympathetic feeling between the dead and the living, as there appeared to have been. An interesting case of the dead appearing in a dream was that of Mrs. Marie Meng, 15 West Schiller Street, Chicago. Mr. Charles Peterson, former lieutenant of the Danish Army, was a roomer with Mrs. Meng for a number of years. He had no relatives or near friends in America. Mr. Peterson had been ill for some time with asthma and finally was taken to Hahnemann Hospital, 2814 Ellis Avenue, Chicago. In less than a half hour before she received the telephone call telling of his death, she suddenly awakened and told her husband Mr. Peterson had appeared to her in a dream. She states, "He appeared in a white cloud and seemed well and happy. He died about 1:30 a.m. Saturday, March 18, 1921. It was an easy matter for C. Peterson to appear in a vision to the only one who had shown any sympathy and kindness toward him during his illness, and his landlady being asleep, was functioning in her astral body, which becomes a vehicle of consciousness, and as there was sympathy between the two, it was possible for her to retain her astral vision in waking suddenly as she did. The dead are not dead at all, as many imagine. This man is only physically dead, because he has lost his physical body. The physical body only allows us to express ourselves in the physical world, but it is not the man any more than the clothes he wears. It is the story of perhaps the most remarkable premonition of death that has ever been recorded before the fatal flight. McDermott, who was a seasoned World War veteran and accustomed to hazardous flights, wrote 7 letters to as many friends. These he placed in the hands of a fellow officer, with instructions that they be mailed in the event of his death. The poem was discovered in the lieutenant's personal effects, written on a piece of scratch paper. It had been stuffed in a breast pocket of his uniform. The writing was scraggly, due to the vibration of the motors. This is the death poem. Another hour, and far away I fly. Alas, farewell, to my friends I cry. Then up to the rosy dawn in flight, a battle with the elements I must fight. Lost in the fog and mist and rain, tossed hither and yonder, I strive in vain to again win out as I have in the past. Little I knew this was to be my last. Sharp crash, and my wings are broken back. Every wire is useless, with too much slack. Down, down I swirl and slip and spin, thinking only of all my worldly sin. The earth seems rushing up to me, while rigged crags raise their heads to greet me. As twisting and twirling downward I swirl, I bid a sad goodbye to my little girl. Lower down into the trees I crash, my plane and I have gone to smash. Up from the mass call me, my untouched, unfettered spirit flies, straight to my mother's, waiting overhead. Although no one, so far as is known, saw Lieutenant McDermott write the poem. His fellow officers at Golding Field pointed out today that every indication points to it having been written during the hour preceding the fatal crash, when danger approaches. There are also cases which appear to indicate when the ego is unable to impress the individual. The information is often conveyed through another person, as the above would indicate, who is sensitive enough to bring the information in the waking state.